Well, hello, dear viewer. It's been a bit of a while, hasn't it? But I'm doing a beer review. What else would I be doing? But it's a special one because this is actually a beer that I managed to get from the homebrew competition that I was judging on Saturday. Um, so there we go. I don't want to give too much away because that is an actual competition entry beer. Um, but it's one that didn't win the best on the table that I was judging, and hence it didn't go up to the beer in best in show, I should say, not beer in show, best in show category, which is where this bottle would come in handy. Um, because obviously you send in, I think you send in 3 bottles, or perhaps this one, maybe it was 2. Anyway, it's multiple bottles, which basically means if the first one was bad, and we had a couple of those that started gushing like anything, you've got a second bottle to judge. I'll tell you if I remember that. Yeah, it's just crazy what actually happened. Um, but you've also got another bottle to go up to the best in show. So they've got loads of bottles. And basically, the ones that don't win the first round, the table rounds, they just get poured down the drain. So I rescued this one before it had got poured down the drain. There was another beer that was absolutely fantastic. I can't remember who. Well, we don't know who it was, and I never found out. But it was, yeah, it was a coconut beer, and I really think it had coconut essence in it. But they hadn't put it in the right category, so the beer didn't do very well because it was in the. They submitted it to the wrong category, which is crazy. So I went, oh, have you got the other bottle of that beer? And I was going to drink it at lunchtime. And they said, no, we poured it away already. I was like, no. So yeah, I got one of these. I was going to drink it on the way home on the train yesterday, but after drinking like probably 25 to 30 beers, it's in the high 20s, I reckon, if not 30 beers. Yeah, I was just, well, number one, I was pretty hammered, um, and I just wanted to get home. I didn't get home till midnight, and I left Bristol, is where it was, at about 6 o'clock. Missed the train in the middle connection, so I had to sit around in a station for an hour. And I was thinking, oh man, I ended up watching YouTube videos, which was kind of crazy, which is what you're doing, dear viewer. So yeah, but I was going to drink it, and then I thought, nah. And I've got some beers that I will show you in another video. I bought some beers from the brewery where we were, Left-Handed Brewing. I bought some of their beers, really quite expensive. It was over 20 quid for 4 beers, and that was buying it from the brewery. So like 5 quid beers, which is unusual for me. But they looked after us as a whole, and they looked after me really, really well. So yeah, you got to give back, haven't you, some way? So I think buying beers is a good way to help out a brewery. So that's what I did. But anyway, those reviews will be to come. So I thought I'd let you into what beer judging is kind of about officially, and this is the BJCP um, Beer Judging Certificate Program. This is their official. Well, this is one of 2 actually. There is a slightly. The other one is if you're actually going to try and become a judge. I'm not. I'm not in. I'm not ready for that yet, and there's not enough competitions near me anyway. But there is another thingy here, um, which is if you're, going to do your exam. So I took the easy way out. And there's some stickers with my name and all that kind of stuff on. But anyway, yeah. So I am going to go through this with this beer, and I've even got the BJCP for the instructions, the beer category, whatever it is, for this particular style. So this is going to be interesting. This is going to be a longer video than normal, so and my videos do go on a little bit, but essentially we've got aroma, appearance, flavour, mouthfeel, overall impression. Different numbers, they're not equally weighted, which is interesting, but it's a score out of 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 categories, but they're not all worth 10 points. So we'll go through. And the other thing is any off flavours present, because if there are they supposed to be there or not? This was in a category of sours, so there's a possibility of some off flavours and stuff. But Catharina sour, which is this, if you want to pause the video and go and find the notes for this, it's LSX4 Catharina sour, and this particular one has got mango and passion fruit in it. And like I say, I don't actually know the name. It's just a code reference number. So this was number 73 out of about 300, 350-ish beers that were drunk on the day. So it's a lot of beers. So I'm going to crack this bad boy. I'm going to open it very carefully because, like I said, some beers were quite fruity. And with homebrews, you never really know what you're going to get. Like a box of chocolates, apparently. Cool. So nicely carved, but not over carved, which is a good sign. And it is fruity. Now, this sort of style is not really supposed to be a lambic style. It is a sour beer, but it's not supposed to be a lambic style. And it's basically a sour Berliner Weiss. I think that's the best way you can kind of describe it. So let's pour some of this into a glass. And this is going to be the beer that we are drinking today. Now, it isn't very clear, and that's because I've been traveling across the whole country with this beer. So, and it probably wasn't, if I remember rightly, it wasn't that clear to start with. So, quite a good amount of head, really nice colour. Colour of the head is beautiful. So weirdly, like I said before, this is going to be funny. Appearance out of 3 is actually the second one. Aroma's first. But I think every judge that I watched, and I was sitting with, I moved around a bit, did 3 different tables and multiple different styles. Most people do appearance first and then they do the aroma second, which is exactly what I usually do. And this is what all judging's about. Eyes, nose, mouth. That's as simple as it can be. So, appearance, I might be tempted. Obviously, we'll see if the haze was supposed to be there or not. As is, I'd probably give a 2, but possibly a 3 because it looks like a good beer. There's nothing wrong with the look of this beer, so you can't knock it down any points for that. Then you go into the aroma, and you're thinking, is there something that shouldn't be there? And this is where the guidelines really help, you see. Okay, so definitely got the fruit in because of the mango and what was that, passion fruit? Yeah, so I'm definitely getting that. I'm getting the sourness. Yeah, the lactobacillus, I believe, is the inoculation that you use it for these type of beers. Yeah, there doesn't smell like any barnyardy kind of funky, any weird things. And we're talking DMS, diacetyl, like medicinal kind of thing, phenols. It's not supposed to be that kind of stuff in here because this is just a sour. So it's not meant to be a ridiculous one. I actually did judge on the both mixed fermentation table, which was ridiculous, absolutely nuts. If you're friends with me, or friends, I should say, with me on Facebook, I uploaded the notes. I probably shouldn't have done, but the notes on one of the beers, and it was just nuts what this person had done. All sorts. He'd mixed 2 beers together. He'd re-fermented. He'd added loads of different bacteria to it, and then he put it in a barrel, and then I think he dry hopped it as well. So literally everything you could possibly do, and I had to try and judge it. And could I could I do each one of those things? And I think the style was wild beer. And one of the things I knocked marks off for was I couldn't actually taste the lambic side of it. I could taste the yeah, it was sour, but I think a lot of it was sour because they'd added bacteria to it at the end. But at the beginning, there was supposed to be a lambic beer in there. I don't know if I was getting that. So anyway, that didn't win anything. It. Wow, it was interesting. It was a kitchen sink, we called it. Everything you could possibly do to a beer, this person did to it. Crazy. So the other thing is, because it's a sour beer, it shouldn't have a very pronounced hop profile on the nose. So Berliner Weiss, maybe you'd be able to get some hops on the nose. What I am getting a little bit is a bit of a yeasty kind of smell. Yeah, which is maybe that's because I've stirred it up and it's a little bit cloudy. So anyway, so it'll probably score reasonably high marks for that too. Sorry, Divya, I'm going to have to go down the page on my tasting my tasting notes. It's really weird doing something from notes as opposed to yeah doing it other way. So this is where we get to drink some of the beer, and we're 11 minutes in, no, almost 12 minutes into this video. So this is when I start to drink. Cheers and beers. Hopefully you're finding it interesting. If you do, you know what to do. Click like, subscribe, all that kind of jazz. Right, let's dive in. Oh, head retention is also good. So that comes into appearance as well. But you can't do that straight away because it's a retention of the head. I've had some heads like that. I had some that were gushing everywhere. This one's pretty good. So more than likely, I would have given this a 3. Because I don't mind if a beer is a little bit cloudy. That doesn't bother me too much. So fruit, yes. However, can I pick out the 2 individual fruits that are, this is important, that are on the label? So we're looking for mango, we're looking for passion fruit. And this is where I think it might lose a little bit of marks because um, the fruits have kind of molded together a little bit. Um, I would say the mango is is more there than the passion fruit, perhaps. It is a little bit juicy too because of the yeah, because it's a sour. So I can definitely taste the fruit, but can I taste the distinct mango and passion fruit flavors there? Yeah, I think they're in there. Have to delve a little bit. They're not as apparent. They're not as clean, crisp. The sourness is kind of there more than the actual fruit, if that makes sense. So you might mark it down a little bit purely because the sour has taken control, whereas it should be a fruit-driven beer with a sourness to it. Um, and in this case, it's a lacto. I'm sure it's a lacto bacillus sourness, um, which is nice. It is on style, so it's going to score you reasonably good for this. Now this is the big bad boy, so this is 20 points out of 20 points. So this is where, if you've got a really good beer, it can make some huge points. Or if it's not so good, this is where you're going to do the damage. You know, because it's all about the flavour. It's heavily weighted, put it that way. And if I remember on our table, I think this beer, got either an honourable mention or was sort of fourth, fifth. So it was quite high up, but it wasn't like a medal. It wasn't a gold, silver, or bronze, but it was reasonably high up. Now, the next thing we're looking for is things like the mouth feel. I think they call it mouth feel, is it? Or yeah, they call it mouth feel. Brilliant. So you're looking at how it sits in the mouth. Is it well carbonated? What's the body like? Is it too thin? Is it too thick? That kind of thing. This beer may be a touch undercarbed. I mean, we've got quite a good amount of head, and the retention's there, but it's not quite, and it's not overcarbonated. It's a touch undercarbed, I would say. So maybe you'd lose a couple of marks. Or I would say something along those lines. Yeah, it says on here mid to low body, medium to high carbonation. So yeah, that's where this is lacking. Just because it's not carb, and this is a fine line because you don't want it to explode, but you want it to have a fizz to it, like a kind of yeah, like a sort of maybe like a fine wine, like a prosecco or champagne or something like that. You want quite a good level of fizz. Maybe not as high as a champagne. You don't want to do your disgorging and put your thumb over the top and get all the yeast out and all that kind of stuff. Well, you could do that. Would be fantastic. Got a good beer and you do that, you're getting bonus points. Well, you're scoring high points. You're not getting bonus points, but you know what I mean. Right. Low to medium acidity without being overly aggressive, acidic or astringent. So, like I said, the sourness on here, this particular beer, is a little bit higher than the fruit. So you want it to be clean, fruit heavy, and then sour. And this, I think the sourness might be a little bit too upfront. And don't forget, I don't want to sound like I'm a complete bastard here, but when you're judging these things, you have to be, you have to know the style. It's really important. And if you don't know, have your notes, have your book, have your access to your thing on your phone. A lot of people were using phone. Some people were using laptops and tablets and things because they're looking up the notes for the style. And that is why I keep looking over here, because that's where the BJCP style guidelines for this particular beer are. No alcohol heat, so that's not too alcoholic and not sort of aggressive, and that's fine. So this is definitely going to score kind of mid points. This is out of 10, I believe. No, beg your pardon. This is out of 5. I'm getting ahead of myself. So reasonable head, mouthfeel, yeah, fine. Characters are there a little bit, so you're probably looking at least a 3. Maybe if I was being really generous, a 4, but I think maybe a 3 would be okay for this beer. It's quite a nice beer, put it that way. And then lastly is the overall, and this is out of 10. And the best way I can describe this is, yeah, do you think this beer is on style? Did you like it? Are there any major flaws with the beer? And I would have to say no. There are little points that what I might mark off, but there's no off flavors. There's nothing wrong with this beer. It's just not quite dialed in enough. So you're probably looking overall. So out of 10, you're probably looking 7s, maybe score of 7, maybe 8 if you're feeling really generous. But overall, out of 50, you're probably looking 30s, I'd say. You're not. It's not as high as 40, put it that way. But sort of a mid 30s, I reckon, will be a really good score for this particular beer. So it's a good beer, but it's not outstanding for the style. And yeah, that's probably why it wasn't higher up. I mean, it was up against some really, really good. There was a Goes beer, which was fantastic, really nice. There was a barrel aged stout that was kept on grape skins, I think, red grape skins, and the barrel I think was a red wine barrel, and it was a stout, but it had that sort of burgundy red wine kind of. It was absolutely fantastic. And then there was what was the second place one? I can't remember. It was a no, I can't remember. Can't remember. I was hammered by then, but it was another really good light beer. I think it was a saison based beer, a Brett fermented saison, maybe something like that. Really, really nice beer. It was like a champagne sour. It was really good, but with Brett. This is lacto, but we had other ones in. We had Saccharomyces things, Brett things, some proper funky things. Crazy. Mixed fermentation, ridiculous. And we had weird beer as well, which was bizarre. And there we go. I'm usually looking for, my nice lines. Sour beers aren't actually known for keeping their head retention that much, but that's done really well. I'm liking that. And that was kind of my thought process throughout this whole thing. And I'm pretty sure it did score something like 34, roughly. Oh, by the way, it's not just me. So the possibilities are that you are working with, and everyone works with another judge. So the bare minimum is you're working with one other person. But sometimes you're working with four people because groups get together sometimes and argue it out. And then the actual judging of it, I think it was a panel of six for the best in show. I think that was right. And they obviously drank like 20 beers or something crazy, and tried to work out what the top one was. But I wasn't, because I'm not BJCP qualified. I wasn't, the medal winning, best in show medal winning, I should say, judge. So I left that up to the more experienced BJCP people, and that's absolutely fine. I'm perfectly happy with that. I was like a guest judge. I've actually got it on the sticker. I don't actually want to show this. Oh, it doesn't matter. You probably know my email, but it says non-BJCP judge. So I am a judge, so they acknowledge that, but from non-BJCP, which is absolutely fine. And a couple of people said to me, "Oh, you should think about doing the exam, and you should do that." And I was thinking, I've got far too much other stuff going on, and I'd have to travel around the country. I would love to, but it would cost a lot of money, and unfortunately that's another reason I can't do that. I can't spend every weekend going off doing beer judging. I would love to, but I can't. And of course, yeah, we've had some family kind of things, so I have to look after people in my family, so I can't go off every weekend. Once, yeah, was okay and nothing happened. That I was a bit worried that something might happen while I wasn't here, but nothing did happen, which is brilliant. Yeah, I'm saying a lot because I'm thinking. Sorry about that, dear viewer. You're probably used to me saying ooh. I do say it sometimes, especially when I've been drinking, especially when I've been thinking about things. But yes, please, if you're watching this video and you haven't been, if you're not a normal viewer and you've got this far in, which is 24 minutes, what I would say is if you're umming and ahhing about beer judging, whether it is BJCP or camera or another, because there are other schools of thought with regard to judging. Essentially, they're all very similar. Like I say, breaking it down is look, nose, mouth. If you follow those, you can judge a beer, and you probably do that every time you're in the pub. Just you've got to dial your senses in a little bit so you can fill out one of these forms, and you have to know your off flavors. You have to know what should be there, and you know what you're judging against, which is why I'm looking at the criteria, which is freely found on the internet, on the interwebs. So yeah, you have to know. Ah, this is good. Acetaldehyde, acel, acetaldehyde. Yeah, acetaldehyde. Wow, that's one I can't say. So that's a green apple thing. Extra alcohol levels, so kind of really hot beers, so overly alcoholic beers. Astringency, know what that does, whether it's from the grain and that kind of thing. Diacetyl, DMS, those two are quite common. Estery things. Now, esters and phenolics, sometimes those are what you want to have in a beer, and sometimes you don't want to have them. So for a lambic style beer or a wild fermented beer, or even a sour beer, maybe you want a couple of those things in there. But for a lager or a light beer, a pale ale, those are the things you don't want in there. Grass or a skunky kind of thing, don't want those. Metallic stuff, plasticky stuff, sort of medicinal kind of TCP things. Yep, that's not good. Sulfur, vegetal kind of things, and yeasty things like bready kind of things. Do you want them? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. So have a look on the BJCP website if you're interested in that kind of stuff. Do some sensory training. They are, if you're members of clubs, or if you're, yeah, I did mine through camera, but you can do them through your homebrew club or your beer club or whatever. The resources are really out there and easy to get hold of. Sometimes for free. Sometimes you have to wait for them to come around. I paid for both my judging certificates, but it wasn't that much. I think one of them was like 20 quid and the other one was like 25 quid. Obviously, you have to pay to go to these places. Usually for me, I had to go into London. I was lucky enough that they had one in Kent, so I went to that. But even that was like, 15 quid on the train. But yeah, going up to London, you know, 30 quid, 40 quid for me. Depends what time of day. If you're going in the week, it's more expensive, etc. Getting to Bristol and back was like 75 quid, just for my train, and that was on a weekend. So, I spent a bit of money doing it, but it was something that I felt was really, really worthwhile. And Sarah Pantry, once again, she's the lady that kind of helped organise. Obviously, it's a club event, but she's the lady that essentially organised everything and did the admin. Her YouTube video for the judging is on YouTube, freely available. Daft Cat Brewing is her homebrew name, so I'm sure you can find stuff there. But yeah, it was really run very well, even though it did overrun. I think I stopped judging 5:30, 6-ish, something like that, and the actual best in show was announced about 8 o'clock-ish, maybe just before, but say around 8 o'clock. And it was meant to, I think it was meant to be finished about 6:30, 7. So yeah, they overrun by an hour and a half, something like that. But that's not unheard of, because people drinking 300 beers in a day and collate them all together to get one winner, my God, really, really tricky. Anyway, this has been Unclejona, drinking and judging a beer on camera, going through the process at least. Whoever, I don't know if you'll ever see this, number 73 was with the Catharina sour with mango and passion fruit. If you see this video, why not get hold of me? Send me a message. I liked your beer. I was rooting for you, man. I thought you might go far with this video, with this beer. Oh my God. Must be reasonably alcoholic, or maybe I'm just losing the plot. Who knows? Anyway, it's been half an hour video. That's outrageous for me. but it's long form content, so you know, could go anywhere. Hopefully you found this interesting. If you have, please follow the channel. I usually do commercial beers, but homebrew I do, because I love a bit of homebrew when I can get hold of stuff and when I brew it myself. Please take care of yourselves. Take care of each other, dear viewer, and Unclejona will return with another beer review. It's probably going to be a left-handed one, and it's going to happen real soon.